Well, I don't really know where to start on this one, guys. Normally I wait a day or so to do a reaction video, but after that debacle, I just had to get my thoughts out. I don't have notes prepared. Didn't really think much about studs and duds either, other than one stud I can think of and one huge dud I can think of. But this was absolutely a complete debacle. This is the second time this has happened now where we've had a big lead in the fourth quarter and we've blown it. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to look any further than Jim Schwartz. This loss is on Jim Schwartz. Jim Schwartz, if it were up to me, Jim Schwartz would be fired. This guy has no clue how to run a defense. At this point, I just wish he would blitz every once in a while. The guy is like immune to blitzing. He just doesn't believe in it. He played that stupid prevent for the whole fourth quarter that allowed them to get back into it. It makes no sense the way he ran his defense in the fourth quarter. He thinks his four down linemen are going to continue to get pressure because they've been getting pressure all game, but that completely ignored what was happening in that game. What was happening in that game is they were starting to realize exactly how they could block our scheme, and after that, we got no pressure on Cam Newton. How about sending a linebacker every once in a while, Jim? You had Jordan Hicks sitting out in the middle of the field at one point, doing nothing, and then finally he starts to come up and make a play because he's spying Cam Newton. That's such lazy defense in that situation. You don't need to be worrying about spying him. If he gets a run there, it's not going to kill you because you can stop him. What you don't want to have is have him all the time in the world to be able to figure out exactly where he wants to go with the ball and be able to make a completion like he did. It was absolutely lazy defense on Jim Schwartz's part, and I want his head. I want him fired. I want him out of here. I'm sick of him. I don't care what he says about getting pressure with his four down linemen. It's over at this point. The guy can't coach a defense and make adjustments in game. It just doesn't happen. He doesn't recognize what's happening. And this is 2 games now he has cost us where we've had big leads and he has blown it. That said, I also am not going to give Doug Peterson a pass on this either because, frankly, I think the offense got too conservative in the second half as well. And for that matter, as much as we dominated them in the first half, we shouldn't have been up only 10-0. We should have been up more. So the offense has got to bear some brunt on this as well. I've been a huge Carson Wentz fan as well. So frankly, I'm going to criticize him as well because one thing I was thinking about the other day, he has never really had that signature moment where he has led our team from behind to win a game late. The closest you can say where he had a late drive to win a game was completing one pass to set up the 61-yard Jake Elliott field goal against the Giants game. That's the only one that you can sort of come close to. But for the most part, and that's when we were tied. We were not behind when that kick was made. So this is something he has never done, and he came up small at the end of that half. At the end of that game. I'm sorry, he did. He had a great game otherwise, but he came up small there, and some of that's also on Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson called that screen pass, and Luke Kuechly, when we had the ball and we could have just tried to run the ball and run the clock out at the end, he tries that screen pass where it was telegraphed. Kuechly obviously knew where that ball was going, and he jumped on that route. And Doug has become too predictable in some of those situations. So I'm going to give some of this blame to Doug Peterson as well. And like I said, and some of it's got to go on Carson for coming up a little bit small at the end of the game as well. So if I were going to list duds on this game, number 1, 2, and 3 are going to be Jim Schwartz, 4 is going to be Doug Peterson, and 5 is going to be Carson Wentz. And I know Carson had a decent game other than that. He got lucky on the one interception. It clearly had hit the ground, but that's a ball that probably should have gotten intercepted. So he got bailed out there, but he still came up small after that. Frankly, the only guy I can think of that deserves any kind of a stud award in this game is Alshon Jeffrey, who has shown once again that he is a premier wide receiver in this league. He continues to make big play after big play, and for that, I'm going to give him some kudos, but that's the only kind of guy I can give any sort of credit to in this game. You know what? I'm done with it. This is ridiculous. I'm really questioning now whether this is a playoff caliber team. Forget about repeating its Super Bowl champs. Whether this team has the caliber to even getting back to the playoffs, because they are not playing like it. They are not playing like they really want to win games at the end. And a lot of that is coming from the coaching, and that's why I'm putting Jim Schwartz and Doug Peterson as my 2 big duds of this game. And Doug Peterson, he won us that Super Bowl last year, and so for that reason, he's always going to be, at the top of my list in terms of great head coaches in this franchise history. But Jim Schwartz got lucky in that Super Bowl last year. He gave up the most points ever in a Super Bowl to still win a game. So the fact that Jim Schwartz is still coaching this team when his defense has been so inept at times. People want to talk about the Eagles having an elite defense. It doesn't have an elite defense. Elite defenses don't give up double-digit leads in the second half, in the fourth quarter for that matter, and that's what they've done twice now. So the fact that the Eagles continue to do this, and this is the second time now this season it's happened, it's just absolutely indefensible. Jim Schwartz, I want to see you gone. I don't ever want to see you coaching on the Eagles sideline again. I'm sorry, I'm out. I guess we'll end with the fly Eagles fly, but at this point, I'm not even sure that's going to happen. They might not even be able to fly to London the way that this coaching staff is trying to figure it out. They might miss the plane for all I know. So at this point, let's hope they get their act together as they go over and play the Jaguars next week. Fortunately, the Jaguars look like they're completely dead in the water, and they're just as bad of a franchise in terms of losing what they had last year and getting to the playoffs and then blowing it this year. So maybe we'll be able to get something back from beating up on that bad team. But right now, nothing's going to convince me. Even if we beat Jacksonville next week, big deal. We beat the Giants the week before that, and they're a lousy team. So, yeah, great. We could beat lousy teams. But when it really matters and you're playing a good team, you can't lose games like they lost today. I'm sorry.